You're not tired. You're waking up. This is spiritual actualization. I'm Will Rucker, and I help awakening people actualize their spirituality. This video is to discuss what's happening in our world today, and you need to hear it, so stay tuned.
Spiritual awakening is just the beginning. Spiritual actualization is the evolution. I am Will Rucker, and this is Spiritual Actualization. Let's get into it.
The news, my Facebook feed, my Twitter feed, my text messages are filled with people saying, I'm tired. I'm sick of it. And rightfully so. What's happening in our world is exhausting. But what if we're not actually tired? What if we're waking up? What if what we are experiencing is that morning fog that happens in that transition between sleep and full consciousness? What if what we're experiencing is the remaining stiffness from having been asleep for 8 hours? And our body needs to stretch and to move and get the circulation going. Maybe we need a jolt of caffeine because we're not actually tired. We're just waking up. I'm so encouraged by what I see on the news. People of all races, all ages, all genders coming together to say that enough is enough. And you know what? Enough is enough. This is our moment. While I do not minimize the pain of the tragedy of the recent loss of life from the folks that we're supposed to serve and protect, I do want you to know it is but a symbol of what is to come. Today, as I record this video, it's Pentecost Sunday. And in the Christian tradition, this is the day when the Holy Spirit came and filled those who were waiting in the upper room. But we are those who have been waiting. And today we are being filled with the breath of the Holy Spirit. I find it so interesting, so fascinating, and so exciting that the COVID crisis has been dealing with breath. A respiratory disease literally shut down the world. And then a man that said, I can't breathe, reignited the world. There are protests in nearly every state, every major city, and in nearly every place I look, I can't breathe is visible. Now we have to be careful of the words we choose and what we utter as our war cry. When we protest and amplify messages, when we consolidate our energy, when we focus our energies together, we have to be so careful of what it is we're saying. The universe was created by word, by sound, by vibration. It is vibration. And the words that we choose create the reality we see. Now, the words that we speak carry meaning because of what we assign to it, and there's meaning that is historic in the words we choose. There's meaning that is embedded in the very fabric of the system, and we can't override it with a simple desire. Oh, today we're going to make this word mean this. So when you say, I can't breathe, know that you are beckoning a world in which you can't breathe. So instead, let's say continue to breathe. Thank you, NDIRE. Let's say, I am breath, or I fight for breath, or I live as breath. Because breath is spirit, and in the Bible, the word for spirit is pneuma, and that simply means air. It means breath. It means that life force that animates us all. So yes, you can breathe. You are breathing, and you shall continue to breathe. Watch the words you speak, for in your mouth is the power of death and life. Choose life today and choose to breathe. Many who watch my content are spiritual, and not spiritual in the sense of everyone is spiritual, but spiritual in they engage in what is deemed spiritual. So in touch with nature and using crystals and manifesting through energies and things of that nature. And what happens when we enter into this space of spirituality, which is wide open and infinite, Sometimes we get caught in conspiracies that are not pure, that are not of light, that are not actual reality, but are the twisted devisings of people who would like to control us and to confuse us and to take that which is good and twist it into something that is not preferred. So I encourage you that as you enter into these spaces of spirituality, that you do not get caught in the latest, greatest conspiracy theory of the New World Order, of the Illuminati, of whatever the latest brand may be. And I do not deny the existence of pockets of people who carry out these things that are in these conspiracy theories. Don't allow them to stop you from seeing the greater picture. Unity is of spirit, of holiness, of righteousness, of light. Unity, one world order, is of love because there is but one race, and that's the human race. There is but one universe. There is but one reality, one consciousness, and we are just fractured within it. So as we heal, as we reunite, as we come back to who we are, the answer is oneness. So do not fight against this call for unity. Do not fight against this reconnecting of all as one, because that is the arc of the universe. That is the fabric of reality. Even in nature, we see this. Things divide, but ultimately they all return to the same source. There are thousands and thousands of rivers and lakes and streams, but the water all flows to the same source. It all returns to the oceans, and all of the oceans return to each other. Yes, there are slightly different chemical balances, and you can even see divides in the great oceans where the color is different because of the makeup. But the reality is that water still, through its journey, enters into one space. And as I say all the time, you are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. But recognize there is no ocean with only one drop. And so is someone that understands that they are the ocean. It is also important, of extreme importance, to recognize that that makes you a leader. You may not have a fancy title or important job, but you are a leader. And the essence of leadership is taking responsibility. A famous quote that I have adopted as a personal mantra is "Be the change." And what it simply speaks to is, while I cannot necessarily make you do what I want you to do, I do have the power to be who I want to be. And I can choose to respond the way I want to respond. I can choose to respond with love, with life, with joy to any circumstance. I can be the leader I want to see. Leadership is privilege. And I know that that word is triggering and it's polarizing, but leadership is privilege. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to lead, especially when you have those following you. Not every leader has a following. There's this erroneous idea that if you're leading and no one is following you, you're just taking a walk. It's not true, because what you do with yourself is enough. The seed you plant as who you are is enough to radically shift the entire world. You may not see the result of your kindness, of your compassion, of your empathy, but I guarantee you that ripple will take effect. And it may take generations to produce fruit, but it will. So know that being the change you want to see, it's not just a great slogan for a t-shirt. It's not just something we say when we're trying to be encouraging. It really is the secret, the essence of life. Embodying the reality you want to see for others is the best thing that you can do. Now, that doesn't mean we don't take actions to influence others. But one thing that is tough for folks is when they see someone teaching or preaching something that they're not living. Now, it's important to recognize, guess what? We all recognize values and virtues that are higher than what we're embodying. And just because we're not living something doesn't mean what we're saying isn't true or right. I know what it's like to work out 5 or 6 times a week and to eat clean, eat healthy, nutritional foods, and living greens and that sort of thing. And I understand the detriment that commercial farming, factory animal farming causes our planet. I know all of those things, and yet, every now and again, instead of the free range chicken, I do pick the cheaper brand. Instead of the grass-fed cow, I may pick the cheaper brand. Instead of my morning green tea, I may have my morning Starbucks cafe mocha. So I'm getting it skinny nowadays. You see, I can know what is right and still not do it. That doesn't mean it's not right. Just because I'm not doing what is right doesn't mean what is right isn't right. Am I making sense? We all need to call each other higher. It doesn't matter if I'm a hypocrite. Being a hypocrite does not matter. What matters is speaking the truth, because speech is what shapes reality. There's a reason that social media influenced our last election. There's a reason that branding capitalizes on repeated messaging. It's because words have power, inherent power. And whether that word is spoken, printed, or simply thought, it creates a change, a ripple in the fabric of reality. And as a collective body, when we focus in on certain words, on certain ideas, on concepts, that is what is amplified. That's what is fed. You see, there are things in this world we don't see. Just like I'm talking to you, and you may be getting this over Wi-Fi. The signal traveling to your device is invisible to your eye, but it's still bringing you this message. Well, there are powers, principalities that exist, pendulums, that guide and shape the collective consciousness, and they're working to shift us into their realm and to gather more energy. And so as we feed these ideas, well, Black lives matter. No, all lives matter. And it becomes a fight. As we feed these energies, they then become what is in control. And that is why the work that I've been doing for 6 years here in Las Vegas is so important. I've been preparing us for this moment to say, here is the idea you need to keep in front. Here is the essence you need to hold dear. Here is where you need to center your thoughts, your meditation, your prayer. People are tired of being told to forgive. I get it. People don't think they have that capacity, but you do. You do have the capacity to continue to forgive. And no, it is not wrong to say you should forgive. And no, it is not wrong to call for compassion even in this moment. Why? Because without it, we're all doomed. And yes, I understand I'm speaking death. Come higher. We are all doomed if we don't rise to the level of compassion, of forgiveness, of love, of unity, of peace. It's a fact. It's not, I'm not speaking death in that sense. I'm just saying what is real. And understand you do have the capacity to forgive. Someone needs to hear that. Because in this moment they say, well, our oppressors gave us this religion that told us we are to forgive. Well, guess what? Forgiveness isn't for your oppressor. Forgiveness is for you. Because why do you feel tired? Because you're holding on to shit that ain't yours. And I know that came across with a harsh tone, but I need to jar you awake because you're tired. And you're tired because you're waking up. You're tired because you're starting to see what is. And the essence of what is really is love. And what we're seeing is the exodus of an old energy and the entrance of a new one, the emboldening of a new one, the unfolding of a new one. The new energy is what is real. You see, we come from an age of belief, of, well, I think this would be nice. But no, now we're moving into a place where we know. And what you need to know is that compassion isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. And what I have been teaching for the past 6 years here in Las Vegas, go back to day one of these videos and start watching. Just put them on a loop and watch what I have been sharing. Go to my other channel for The Intersection, for Freedom Life Grace Church, for Compassionate Las Vegas. Watch these videos. Good things are happening. No, the world is not what it was. The 1960s aren't repeating themselves. It's short-sighted to say that they are, because they're not. Sure, there are similar threads that are being seen. Yeah, I get that. But what's happening now is not what happened then. This is a new energy. This is an opportunity for us to rise higher. And it's so important for ourselves that we embody compassion and empathy and love and peacemaking. And now, peacemaking isn't passivity. I'm not at all suggesting that these protests are the wrong thing to do. I'm not even suggesting that the looting and the rioting is wrong in this moment, though there are some things that are wrong that are happening. And the energy behind some of this is wrong. And there are those that are trying to infiltrate this positive movement with negativity to sabotage it. What we really need to recognize is justice brings peace. Embodying compassion brings peace. When things are as they should be. In fact, let me back up on that. Not even when things are as they should be, but when things are as they were created to be. It brings peace. Our natural state, the place where we find balance, homeostasis, is in a state of peace. And right now, it's not peaceful. And the only thing that we can do to create peace is to demand justice. But as we demand justice, we must do it from the energy of love and the energy of light, because we can get the appearance of justice and have the essence of hatred. We can have what appears to be peace, and really what it is an absence of tension. And the world is held in balance through tension, this and that. Black lives matter and all lives matter. But until Black lives matter, all lives do not matter, because Black lives are encapsulated in all. And until we recognize that even white lives are Black lives, yeah, there are Black Caucasians. Science. Until we recognize that at a cellular level, we're connected. Until we recognize that this universe doesn't exist apart from our consciousness, we won't move forward. And so as we riot, as we protest, as we chant, we have to be so mindful of what comes out of our mouth and what energy comes out of our heart. The energy from our heart is 1,000,000 times more powerful than the energy that comes from our conscious brain. Our real consciousness is embedded in our hearts. That's where we really think from. That's where the universe responds from. It's the energy of our hearts. Sure, we can mentally ascend to these ideas. My previous video was on Ubuntu. I am because we are. Go back and watch that one again. Understand that I am because we are is a heart concept. It's not something that is easily understood by the mind. But we need that in this moment. We need Ubuntu in this moment. And we need to be compassionate in this moment. We need to not call for peaceful protests. We need to embody peaceful protest. And the fact that you have to put peaceful in front of protest lets you know that protest in and of itself, hello somebody, is not peaceful in the sense that we're saying it. Peace isn't the absence of tension. Peace is the presence of justice. Peace is the presence of compassion. Peace is the presence of love. So as we talk about leadership and embodying what it means to be the change, and knowing that, yeah, when you embody love, that's enough. When you embody peace, that's enough. When you embody your true essence, that's enough. We do need to recognize that when you embody who you are, you can also see where others may be. And it's not judgmental to have an issue with something. You can take issue with a wrong and not be in judgment of that wrong. You can take issue with how a person behaves and responds without being in judgment of that person. But the reason that it's so hard to see what's before your eyes is because you view it as an affront to your own identity. The reason why you must defend the indefensible is because you have invested yourself into this concept. And for you to admit you were wrong is to essentially face death for you. To admit that this president is not of high character is to say either one, you're not of high character and you do actually agree with the methodology he employs, or to say, two, oh goodness, I made a choice and I thought he was something he wasn't, and therefore I'm something I'm something that I thought I wasn't. I'm not. I'm not as sharp as I thought. I'm not as good of a judge of character as I thought. On one of my previous videos where we were dealing with spiral dynamics, a lot of people were like, this person thinks he can judge the president and he knows what he's thinking. How can he know what he's thinking? Science. Study. Like that's it. I can know that in December it's going to be cold because it happens every December. Like science. Just because I have not had a personal encounter with this president doesn't mean I can't see the fruit of his tree. Well, how can you know what he's thinking? Well, because there are certain pathologies that can be followed. And maybe pathology isn't quite the greatest word, most precise, but I think you get the meaning behind it. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now, 2 plus 2 is approximately 5. I get that. It's approximately 3. But 2 plus 2 equals 4, and I can know that without having to introduce myself to 2, and introduce myself to 2, and then meet 4. Does that make sense? This president is not the same as his predecessors. I am not saying we do not need to respect the office of president. I am not saying that we do not need to pray for the president's highest good. I'm not saying that we don't need to send positivity and light to this president. But the most positive thing that we can do, the most light that we can send, is to call him out on his shit. We need to do that. We need to call him out and say wrong is wrong. We need to say that your tweets are inciting these violent riots that we're seeing. We need to say that your tweets are now no longer just dog whistles. They're sirens of racism. We need to say that we're no longer confused. We're not assuming positive intent anymore because we see the actual intent. Yes, it'd be nice if I'm wrong, but I'm not. And I don't say that arrogantly or pridefully. I say that with great humility and actually with despair and brokenheartedness. Tyra Banks would say, I was rooting for you. I really was. And now I am calling you to higher by saying that what you're doing is not acceptable. And at this point, there is not the option to change course and make it right. The option at this point is to step down, to resign, to leave the office, to put someone in place who can call our nation to healing. There is no excuse for tweets to go out about the things that are going out and not have a national press conference that says, this is unacceptable for a police officer to murder anyone, not even an innocent person. I don't care if this person had just murdered 10 people himself. The way that he was treated is not right. And what I just said is going to cause some offense for some people. Well, we should have the death penalty for murderers. No, we shouldn't. If murder is wrong, then murder is wrong. Justice is not an eye for an eye. Justice is not doing unto others what they have done unto you. It's not justice. Justice is telling people who they really are and calling them to higher and holding them accountable. Please hold me accountable to who I truly am. And if I go low, call me high. If I miss the mark, tell me you missed the mark. Now, we may not agree, we may not see it the same, and you may be misjudging my aim. The mark that I hit may be my intention, but if it's not the mark that I am portraying, call me out. We need to do that. We need to hold each other accountable, and we need to recognize that two wrongs don't make a right. And so when we call others to justice, don't confuse it with retribution. They're very different. We need to restore people. So even if Floyd had murdered 10 people, even if Mr. Floyd, I'm calling him Mr. on purpose, even if he had used a fraudulent bill and robbed the store, what happened is not right. And we need to say that. And we need to hold the officers that were with the gentleman doing that act, that heinous act. We need to hold them accountable. And we need to hold the police chief accountable. And we need to hold all law enforcement officers accountable for this, because their silence is consent. And yes, I recognize not everyone is articulate, but everyone has the opportunity to say this is wrong. Everyone has the opportunity to live, to embody, to be the change they want to see. Every single law enforcement officer had the opportunity to march with those who are protesting, to get down on a knee with those who are protesting. They had that opportunity, but they missed it. Many, many, many of them missed it. Now, I am proud and encouraged by those few that have stood up and stood with the protesters, but it's not enough. Real leadership is standing with the oppressed, is standing with the hurting, standing with those who lack, and providing even out of your own pocket to take care of the poor. Now, there are some systemic things we need to work towards. Giving a poor person $1 may help them in that moment, but it doesn't help them in the long run. We need to change the system. Yes, our country has been looted, but it's not by those in LA on the streets. It's not by those in New York marching. It's by those who have created a system where even in the worst economic downturn our country has had since the Great Depression, they've gotten richer. They've made money. The fact that the stock market is continuing to increase, and baby, I'm grateful, because that means my stocks are increasing. But the fact that it's increasing with record unemployment shows you there's a flaw in the system, and that the stock market does not reflect the pockets of Americans. When we protect this president and defend his heinous actions, what's really happening is we are protecting our own egos. Because we're saying, oh goodness, I can't admit what's really happening. And the other side of this is a lot of people are in the grief cycle of utter denial. I don't have the emotional capacity, the resiliency to admit that the President of the United States is acting in this way. And we need to employ compassion and empathy to those that are grieving. And don't call them idiots and don't call them horrible people, because they're not. They're human beings. There is no such thing as a horrible human. There are horrible actions conducted by humans, but there's no such thing as a horrible human, nor is there an only human. And what I mean by that is a lot of people say, oh, I'm only human. I'm just human. This is the best I can do. Being human is the greatest thing you can be. Being human is so amazing, so incredible. Being human, there's nothing just about being human. So I hope that you've gotten something out of this video. And I want to end with reminding you things are better than they've ever been. The world is moving forward. We are not moving backwards. Yes, things hurt right now. Yes, things are challenging and stressful. But you're not tired. You're waking up. I have 18 episodes of a podcast that feature amazing stories of people that are doing amazing things. Some are Black, some are white, some are Hispanic, some are Asian, some are male, some are female, some are gay, some are straight. The entire spectrum is represented in that 18-episode series of people that are embodying compassion in the world today, who represent organizations that are making a difference in the world today. My friends, things are better than they were. They're nowhere near as great as they're going to be. But things are getting better. And people are taking action. And people are doing things to improve the world. That's what we need to lift up. That's what we need to celebrate. That's what we need to amplify. We need to hold those who aren't living their best lives accountable. We do. And we need to invest our energy. We need to feed those things that are what we want to see in the world. Because whatever you give your attention to grows. The reason the protests grew is because we gave it our attention. So let's give our attention to the things that are good. Let's give our attention to the things that are pure and holy and righteous. Let's call each other to a higher way of life. Let's embody this new age of Aquarius. Let's learn who we are. Let's act like who we are. Let's embody who we are, and we are love. My friends, you are not just a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. So give your energy to liking this video. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, share this video with your networks. Know that I love you, and I will see you in the next video.
There's a global transformation of consciousness happening right now, and you are a part of it. It's the greatest shift in consciousness this planet has ever seen. And my assignment, my mission is to help you awaken to the infinite nature of your being, love. I help awakening people actualize their spirituality. I see what's there, what's really there, and I share those insights with you. My journey isn't mine, my struggles, my pain. It's all for this moment, for this time, for this place, for us, so that we can come together and reconnect as one, layers of one universe living as we ought, inspired, intrigued, interconnected, intersectional. Spiritual awakening is just the beginning. Spiritual actualization is the evolution. I am Will Rucker, and this is Spiritual Actualization. Let's get into it.